Namaste, and you are very welcome to my free course on how to use essential oils for anxiety and sleep. I'm filming here in Costa Rica, where I'm hoping that the sights and sounds will be nice and calming and soothing. I'm here working on a medicinal plants project. It is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful place to be. So let's get straight to it. This mini course comes in 3 parts. The first one is why essential oils for anxiety and sleep. How will it work? What's going on that is going to have an immediate impact on your mind, and it's going to really help with both anxiety and with sleep. So first of all, it's important to know that essential oils directly affect the subconscious mind, the part of the mind that governs how we feel at any time. They transform our mood. So before I go any further, I'd first of all just like to caveat saying, if anxiety is a major feature in your life, it's important to seek appropriate help. This is not a replacement for that. It is purely complementary and supplementary. So it's important for you to know that. If it's a serious condition, it's important to treat it appropriately. But having said that, we'll go on and I'll talk about how essential oils affect the mind and how they could be of a support to you. So when you smell an essential oil, what happens? First of all, what are essential oils? Essential oils are compounds that contain both the scent and the essence of a plant that derives from plants, trees, fruits, roots, and they're chemical compounds that contain the essence, the signature, both in fragrance and in essential properties of that plant or root or flower. I kind of like to think of it as the chi, or the essence, or in yoga we say the prana of the plant. When you smell, what happens? You feel it affecting you immediately. But what actually happens? So the smell molecules come up into the receptors, which are actually inside the brain. So the way the brain is structured, at one point in our development, smell was the most important sense in the earlier stages of our development, because it helped us to identify good food from bad food, a potential mate, a potential threat. Everything that we really needed to get onto the next level of our survival was contingent on smell. So smell, at one point in our development, smell took up over 50% of our smell receptors. It was that important. So as the brain developed, different senses evolved, but the sense of smell never lost its geographical position in the brain. It's located back in the oldest part of the brain that determines how we feel. It determines our stress levels. It determines our breath rate. It actually determines our posture. It actually determines our heart rate. So it determines all these very, very basic parts of how the body functions, which is where we want to address, because anxiety it's the fight or flight mode that we go into when we're stressed is, of course, part of the oldest part of the brain. So we want to get straight there. The sense of smell is the only one of the 5 senses that actually bypasses the thinking mind, the rational mind, that we also want to bypass right now, and get to the oldest part of the brain. It goes straight to the oldest part of the brain. Now, you may be skeptical about this. You are skeptical about this. We're all skeptical about this. And it's important to know why we're skeptical about this, because it's part of how the brain works. The reason we're kind of going, really? The reason we're skeptical is because we think with our rational minds. The rational mind is what determines what we'll do. But what we're trying to get to, where fight or flight is in the pre-rational mind. The fight or flight is, what happens in fight or flight? We get stressed, and the physiological manifestations that come from that. Why do those physiological manifestations come? So what they are is several. We get more jittery in our hands. The mouth goes dry. The digestion is suppressed. So this fight or flight reaction happens because it's, again, a vestigial and old part of the body that tells us that there's an imminent threat and we need to be able to run faster. Digestion is important. Immunity isn't important right now because we need to get away from whatever we're facing. So all those things we need for long-term wellness are actually suppressed for this short-term imminent threat. But the problem with today's society is most people are spending most of their time in this fight or flight state. The beautiful thing about smell is that it goes to the part of the brain where that fight or flight state manifests. So that's why smell goes straight back there. But why we're skeptical about that is because it's the rational mind. We try to address it with the rational mind. So the rational mind is skeptical about smell because smell is pre-rational. It's old and basic. Where it hits is in a very old, basic part of the brain that, actually governs how we feel. But our thinking mind is kind of thinking, really, is that important? We're rational beings now. We can get out of this rationally. But I'm inviting you to address this pre-rationally, which is smell. Very basic sense, but immediately impacts on how you feel. Smell immediately changes how you feel. And the reason we're skeptical about it is because we think about it with our thinking mind. And our thinking mind is skeptical about everything that's pre-rational. Sorry, it's just birds and beautiful things everywhere here, so I'm hoping that's enhancing the experience. So our pre-rational mind is not really rated by the rational mind. The rational mind, the neocortex, looks at the pre-rational mind as more basic, which it is, but also it will look for solutions that are more logical, that make more sense, that have more scientific backup, because this does have scientific backup. We know that essential oils affect the mind. There have been beautiful, numerous studies on how lavender affects stress, on how the citric oils affect depression. There's been a lot of particularly on lavender. There's been a lot of studies on that, but there isn't as much as we'd like to see because there isn't very much financial backing for it. Of course, because there isn't. There's no. We can't patent them as yet, thankfully. So there aren't as many scientific studies as there are for other things. But my invitation to you is be skeptical, but just try it. Be skeptical, but just try it. Just try the oils and see how you feel, because you'll feel immediately how they impact on your mind. So how they work: neurotransmitters are interrupted by the actual fragrances become neural messengers inside the brain, and they interrupt the stress neurotransmitters. So that's how they work, and it's because of this positioning in the brain. Be aware that you'll be skeptical about it, but I invite you just to try it anyway. So that's how essential oils are going to help. It's very kind of deep, old brain geography. Why to use them is just give them a go. Be conscious you'll be skeptical of it, but try them anyway. Now, in the next video, I'm going to tell you about what oils to use and how to use them. Thank you so much.